bitter ass cold miserable out there today. Only an idiot had to deal with that shit today.
Hey, I'm gonna need you to make a sign and go outside and try to drive some traffic to the store.
But it's like 12 degrees and snowing.
No, we're gonna beat the rush. We're gonna get people before they hunker down. We're gonna get them to rent movies, because they're gonna be bored. So they're gonna want to rent movies so they don't have to, be bored at home in the blizzard. So get a piece of cardboard, make a stupid little sign, put your warm hat on, and get out.
My warm hat? This is my warm hat.
You know what hat I'm talking about.
I don't want to wear that hat.
It's part of the deal. Just until lunch.
It's 9 a.m.
We need the money. I'm gonna go up front. You do what you gotta do.
I'm gonna move. I'm going to move. Oh shit. Fuck right. Rent 3D video! Dick.
Better that motherfucker than me. Maybe he'll drive some traffic. Oh, hello, internet fans. Welcome to 3B Video. I'm your host, Rotten Roger DeMarco. And today, we're going to be talking about Chris Peckover's 2016 film, Better Watch Out. So for those of you who have not seen it, here is your plot synopsis. Luke and his friend Garrett are hanging out in the holiday season, and Luke's parents go out for the evening, leaving Luke and Garrett with a babysitter. So over the course of the evening, a masked assailant converges on the house and tries to gain entry to murder these people in this house. There's a lot more to it than that, but I'm gonna do my best to not spoil this film for you guys. Hopefully that synopsis is intriguing, but before we get into my overall thoughts of the film, first, let's take a look at Rocket Rogers Splatter Facts. This is a low body count flick. We have 3 dead bodies, and we also have 0 titties. That sounds like a deterrent, but I promise you it's not. We have big ass house spiders, underage drinking, creepy pizza delivery, the old no phone service, 1 death threat brick, gratuitous 12-year-old sex talk, 1 persistent ex-boyfriend, pants pissing, obligatory Christmas carolers, and 1 cleaning montage. The methods of death include and basically are limited to home alone, hung, and shotgunned. You know you gotta keep it simple with a good old shotgun blast. Alright, so now on to my overall thoughts of this film. Personally, for me, this film has quickly become an absolute holiday staple. It's one of those movies that I had little to no expectations of, and upon chance viewing, when Evil purchased it and we all just kind of hung out and watched this film, it knocked me for a fucking loop. I can't express how much fun this movie is. I endorse this film to the highest degree. I think that this film is beyond fun, beyond silly. It's kind of everything that I want in a holiday film. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the winter season and or Christmas. This film is just that right amount of fun. This is on par with like Krampus level fun, but way darker. And one of the things that helps propel this movie for me is the absolutely realistic dialogue between Luke and Garrett. They really do feel like a couple of 12-year-old boys who have been buddies forever. You know, you're kind of right at that age where you start deciding who you want to be friends with. There's this fantastic playfulness between the two of them, and it's great because most kid actors are kind of wooden or terrible, but these two really feel like kids. It feels like you're peeking into a preteen boy's room.
Does that sound terrible? Is that terrible of me?
Probably terrible of me, but that's what it feels like. It feels like if I were to look in on what I was like when I was 12, that there might be a little bit of this in there. That's another thing about this movie that elevates it above so many of these horror films, is that there's such a realistic dynamic between all characters. Everyone across the board feels very realistic. Even Virginia Madsen and Patrick Warburton as the parents, they could have very easily been over-the-top cartoony characters, or they could have been just cardboard cutout mom and dad. But they have a very interesting conflict between the two of them. They've been married for a very long time. They get on each other's nerves, and it shows. It's just this very stressful holiday situation with excellent veteran character actors doing their jobs and these wonderful kids. Some of you might recognize Garrett because he was in M. Night Shyamalan's Visit. So he's not a stranger to the horror genre, and he kills it in this movie. I've had a couple of conversations about this type of film. This sort of home invasion film is one of my all-time favorite subgenres of horror. And I think that this movie is a very interesting twist on the home invasion subgenre. There's a lot of things about this movie that break the mold and sort of set the standard. I think we're gonna see a lot of movies emulating this down the road, because this movie kind of covers all the bases with this really funny, witty, not self-referential dialogue. It's not that Scream-esque dialogue, but very playful. And it crosses this line from starting the film being very lighthearted and this almost a coming-of-age style story, and then becomes dark and doesn't ever really let up. So it's got a lot of this dark humor to it. You kind of feel bad for laughing at some of this stuff, but I mean, that's what this movie's here for, is to make you giggle and to make you go,
Oh, Jesus Christ, they're not gonna go down that road, are they?
And they do.
They really take what you're expecting and say, no, 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 no. Here's some crazy shit. I think the character of Ashley, the babysitter, is done so well. She does this great job of caring for these kids and protecting these kids. She's not the most physically imposing or tough person, but there's this character arc with her where she spends a lot of time running and being scared and being your traditional female lead in a horror film, that stereotypical female lead in a horror film, and then turns it on its head. Again, this movie is one of those movies that plays with your expectations a lot. It's a tough cookie to crack. It's one of those movies that you think you know how this is all gonna play out, and it doesn't do that for you. It's one of those movies that definitely baits you to thinking the standard horror film, and then pulls the rug out from under you and says, no, 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 no. You're in my house now, motherfucker, for this hour and a half. And the young boy Luke, that's the lead, this kid is phenomenal. I cannot stress how impressed I am with this guy's performance. To get a performance like this out of a child actor is like 1 in a million. I can't wait to see what he does in the future, because I was enthralled with this kid. You know how you feel about Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone? Like, everybody feels that way about Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone. He's adorable, you love him, you're pulling for him, all of these things. And this movie is sort of the same. We take this unknown child actor, the audience falls in love with him, you want to see where it's going with him, and you're invested in this story with this child. And it's fantastic. I feel like the intensity in this movie is sort of unparalleled. As of late, the later 2000s horror films, there's not a lot of movies that I've seen that sort of match this raw, violent intensity that happens in this movie. The closest thing I can compare it to would be something like The Strangers. I'm worried for all parties involved. I'm worried for the children. I'm worried for the babysitter. I'm worried for the outcome. I'm just genuinely on the edge of my seat, genuinely disturbed by what I'm seeing. There's a lot of emotion involved in this movie, especially for the viewer. There are some bothersome scenes in this movie when it comes to that physical and mental abuse and torture in this movie. And it's very clever. Very, very clever. And it has a very unapologetic view of violence. I think that this movie takes some of these cartoony, violent happenings from slasher films where, where it just seems a little silly. It just seems a little bit out of the realm of possibility. Those types of slasher films, that is not what this is. This movie takes all of that stuff and sort of grounds it in reality and kind of gives it this, I think that could really happen. It makes the audience go, oh, yeah, I can see that. As opposed to wood chippers strapped to the chest, dual wielding axes and things like that. It's not that type of film. It's a very fantastic, yet grounded in reality horror film. It's a very exaggerated version of reality, but it's a reality that the audience can believe. But in my personal opinion, this movie is 100% popcorn as fuck, because it's a crazy home invasion film with great child acting, great tension. It's a wild, fun ride that you need to watch at your Christmas party. Have Nana come over, crack open the cranberry sauce, and get going with this movie, and have the whole family sit around, popcorn balls, and scare the fuck out of them right before bed. This movie is phenomenal. I really can't recommend it enough, guys. I enjoy it, and I think that you will too. So if I have swayed you to check out Better Watch Out, click the link in the description and get a copy for you today. But I suppose I should probably get going, because after all, there's a lot of movies out there and somebody's got to watch them. So why not me? Right? I wonder what time it is. That dude's got about 4 more hours out there, I think. See if we can get someone to rent Night Flyer